Good morning, boys. Now, let us continue with the next chapter. The next chapter is chapter number 13, that is water resource and types of irrigation. Now, we all know what is irrigation, but still, irrigation is just to provide water artificially towards the crop, and that is called as a irrigation. So, if you look at here, why irrigation is very important, especially in terms of India, is that present in the present scenario also more than 60% of the total population of our country is dependent upon agriculture as a source of livelihood. So because of that, irrigation is very important, and for that irrigation purpose we need water resources. Now if you look at this water resources, the water resources is further classified into two types. The first one is the surface water, and the second one is the groundwater. Now, surface water means those water which is available on the surface, which can be used for the drinking or for the agricultural purposes. And these water, especially the surface water, is found especially on the ponds, rivers, and the lakes. So these are the main source for the surface water. Now this surface water is found in those areas where there is huge numbers of smaller streams or huge numbers of tributaries as well as distributaries of rivers are found. So until and unless if there is no source of water either through rivers or through the streams, then there is very less percentage of surface water on the earth. Next, groundwater. Now if you look at this groundwater, now groundwater means what? The water which is found just underneath the earth's surface. Now those water which is found underneath the earth's surface is called as the groundwater. Now how does this groundwater is collected? This groundwater is collected especially during the rainy season or during the rainfall. Now when the rainfall takes place, nearly 40% of the rainwater gets percolated, means the seepage of the groundwater takes place from the earth's surface towards the interior part of the earth, resulting those water to be collected. And when those water is being exploited or when this water is being extracted out, that water is called as a groundwater. Now if you look at this groundwater, now especially this groundwater is highly found especially in the northern plains than compared to the Indian peninsula. The reason is that the northern plains has a soft soil which easily allows the seepage of rainwater towards the underground, resulting the water to be collected just beneath the earth's surface. But whereas in peninsula is being said that it is made up of hard rocks. So as the hard rocks doesn't allow easy seepage of the water, especially in the Indian peninsula, having less percentage of groundwater. The next, lagoons and backwater. Now if you look at this lagoons means a stretch of salty water separated from the sea by sand banks. Now if you look at this lagoons, where do you find lagoons? Lagoons we find especially near the coastal areas. It means that a salt water separated from the sea by a sand dunes. It means the sand dunes is acting as a boundary or dividing between the coast and the sea, and that helps in the formation of the lagoons. And these lagoons are especially found only in the coastal waters, whereas the backwaters means the sea water which has penetrated deep inside the country or deep inside the area, that is called as a backwater. Now if you have heard about the state Kerala, now Kerala is a very renowned state especially for the backwater, because backwater means those saline water either from the sea or from the ocean which has penetrated deep inside the land, and that is called as a backwater. Next, water demand and utilization. Now if you look at here, day by day the water demand has been increased because of the increase in population. So the more the number of population increases, there will be more the demand of the water. So because of that, I have divided this water demand and utilization into three divisions. The first is agriculture. Clear? Agriculture consumes nearly 89% of surface water and 92% of groundwater in the form of irrigation. Next, domestic sector. In the domestic sector, it uses 9% of the surface water. In industries, it consumes 5% of groundwater. Now, you have got that there are many industries such as iron and steel industries, one of the best example, or you can take example of a leather industries. This iron and steel as well as the leather industries, they need huge amount of water, especially during the processing as well as during the production of the finished goods. Therefore, there is higher consumption of water, especially by the industries. And it has been predicted that in the coming near future, this 5% will increase up to 20% of consumption by the industries, because more and more numbers of industries has established, resulting more consumption of water. Next, conservation of water resources. Now if you look at here, conservation of water resources means to preserve the water. Now why to preserve water? Because it has been said that overall 3/4 of the earth has been occupied by the water. Out of that 3/4, only 5% has the fresh water which can be used for consumption. So only that to preserve that 5%, these are the steps which needs to be implemented, or which has been implemented by the government. First is that to develop water saving methods or technologies. Clear? How we can save water, or to develop better technologies so that the less water is wasted. Second point, preventing pollution of water, because whenever the water gets polluted, that water cannot be used in any other activities. So unless if the water is not being prevented from getting polluted, that water becomes useless. So the government has taken different initiatives, especially to prevent pollution of water. And next is encouraging rainwater harvesting and reuse of water. What is rainwater harvesting? Rainwater harvesting means collecting of rainwater. Clear? Whenever the rainfall takes place, that water needs to be collected and preserved, and that can be used for different activities like providing water to the plants and cleaning the houses and for some other uses. And next is the reuse of the water. Next is watershed management. Now what is the watershed management? Now definitions, I have wrote it on the blackboard. It is said it is a geographic area which drains to a common point. It is a geographic area. Let's say, take example Kalimpong as a geographic area, clear, which drains to a common point. Let's take the example River Tista. Clear? It means whenever the rainfall takes place over the Kalimpong, the water converts itself into a stream, and that stream it joins the main river. So whenever a geographic area receives a rainfall, it drains to a common point, which makes it an ideal planning unit for conservation of soil and water. Now, why the soil came here? Because whenever the water flows from the higher elevation towards the lower elevation, its velocity increases. As the velocity increases, its carrying capacity also increases. So as it flows down, whatever it comes in its course or whatever it comes on its path, it has been carried down from the higher elevation towards the main river. It is very important method to conserve water to increase agricultural production and stop ecological degradation. Now, for this watershed management, this watershed management has been given importance, or been new initiatives has been taken by the government. The first one is Neeru in Andhra Pradesh. That means it is a rainwater harvesting technologies which has been applied in the state of Andhra Pradesh, because Andhra Pradesh receives rainfall only during the winter season. They do not receive rainfall during the rainy season, and therefore they have started a new initiative called as a Neeru in Andhra Pradesh. It means they can collect water, especially they can harvest rainwater. Next, Arwari Pani Sansar in Alwar district of Rajasthan. Clear? This is the second initiative taken by the government to preserve the water. And third is Tamil Nadu has made a compulsory, means Tamil Nadu has made it mandatory to have water harvesting structure in the house. Means when the planning, especially in the cities, what happens that whenever you construct a house, the planning or the plan of the house needs to be submitted to the municipality area or to the particular officer who is related with the construction which takes place within the city. Until and unless if you do not show water harvesting structure in that building, the plan will get completely cancelled. So because of that, Tamil Nadu has made compulsory that each and every houses they must have a structure to collect the rain water. Next, what is rainwater harvesting? Now, rainwater harvesting, it means collection of rainwater which can be used in the future. Especially this rainwater is being collected especially to our tanks, as well as it is used specially to recharge the underground water table. So whenever the underground water table is recharged, the underground water level it increases, resulting in the increase of the underground water level. Its objectives. What are the objectives of rainwater harvesting? First is to meet the increasing demand for water. Second is to avoid flooding of the roads, because whenever the flooding takes place, especially across the road becomes completely destroyed, and the road becomes and on that road it is impossible for the people to walk over it. Third point, to reduce soil erosion, because I have already told you, when the velocity and the volume of the water increases, the water it carries away anything which comes across its path or across its course. Next, to raise underground water level. So these are the 4 objectives of the rainwater harvesting.